Many people move through adulthood carrying a quiet but heavy assumption. Somewhere out there, there is a right life, a right career, a right purpose, a right path that, if only discovered, would bring clarity, confidence, and peace. When life feels uncertain, the assumption becomes even more powerful. If I am confused, maybe I am failing. If I do not know exactly what I want, maybe I am behind. If I cannot name one perfect direction, maybe something is wrong with me. Designing your life begins by challenging that entire framework. Bill Burnett and Dave Evans suggest that life is not a puzzle with one correct answer hidden inside it. It is a design problem, and design problems are not solved by waiting for certainty. They are addressed through curiosity, experimentation, reframing, and action. This is the book's central promise. A meaningful life does not have to be fully known before it can be lived. It can be built, tested, revised, and improved over time. That idea is both deeply practical and unexpectedly compassionate. It releases people from the pressure of getting life right in one move. It allows them to engage with uncertainty not as a sign of failure, but as a normal part of creating a life that works. In this summary, we will explore the major ideas behind that promise. We will look at how design thinking can help with career confusion, decision-making, self-knowledge, purpose, and the challenge of moving forward when the future feels unclear. More than anything, this book invites us to replace paralysis with process. Instead of endlessly searching for the perfect answer, it teaches us how to design better questions and try better experiments. Designing your life comes out of the world of design thinking and the Stanford course the authors taught on that subject. That background matters because it explains the tone and structure of the book. Burnett and Evans are not approaching life as philosophers trying to define meaning in the abstract. They are approaching it as designers who believe that messy human problems can often be improved through observation, prototyping, reframing, and iteration. In design, you do not begin by assuming you already know the perfect solution. You begin by understanding the problem, questioning assumptions, generating options, and testing possibilities. The book applies that same logic to life itself. Careers, identity, purpose, and lifestyle choices are treated not as fixed truths to discover all at once, but as areas where better design is possible. This is why the book feels so different from advice that says simply listen to your heart or choose a goal and push harder. Burnett and Evans offer a more experimental framework. They trust process over fantasy. They trust action over overthinking. And they trust that people can build clarity by engaging with life directly rather than trying to think their way to certainty from a distance. A major insight in designing your life is that people are often stuck not because they lack options, but because they are trapped inside unhelpful beliefs. They may believe there is only one right path. They may believe that being unsure means something is wrong. They may believe that they should already know their purpose by a certain age. They may believe that if they choose one direction, all others are lost forever. These beliefs feel personal, but the book shows that they are often cultural scripts people have absorbed without examining. Once those scripts are in place, even intelligent and capable people can become paralyzed. Every decision starts to feel too important. Every uncertainty begins to look like evidence of failure. Burnett and Evans call these dysfunctional beliefs, and one of the first steps in designing a better life is learning to notice them. This matters because beliefs shape behavior long before behavior shapes results. If someone believes life must unfold in a straight line, they may interpret detours as disasters rather than as information. If someone believes passion should be obvious from the beginning, they may dismiss promising paths just because they do not arrive with perfect emotional clarity. The book helps readers understand that confusion is often intensified by the way they are framing their situation. Once the frame changes, movement becomes possible. One of the most useful tools in the book is reframing. In design, reframing means looking at a problem from a different angle so that new possibilities become visible. Burnett and Evans bring this tool into personal life because many people get trapped by the way they ask their own questions. Consider the difference between asking, "What is the perfect career for me?" and asking, "What are a few directions worth testing next?" The first question invites pressure, fantasy, and self-judgment. The second invites experimentation. Or think of the difference between asking, "Why am I so behind?" and asking, "What is one move that would give me better information?" Reframing is powerful because it interrupts the emotional force of a stuck narrative. It does not deny reality. It changes the shape of reality so that action becomes possible again. This is one of the book's most important lessons because it teaches readers that progress is often blocked not by the absence of opportunity, but by the architecture of their thinking. A better question does not always give an immediate answer, but it changes what the mind starts searching for. And once a person is asking design questions instead of judgment questions, the entire process of change begins to feel more open and workable. Burnett and Evans make a very practical distinction between solvable problems and what they call gravity problems. A gravity problem is something you cannot change directly. Gravity itself is the metaphor. You cannot negotiate with it. You cannot argue with it. You cannot design your way out of it. In life, gravity problems may include certain facts of your history, your age, another person's choices, economic realities, or physical limits that are not currently alterable. The authors argue that people often exhaust themselves trying to solve the unsolvable. They spend energy resenting the condition instead of redesigning within it. This is not a call to resignation. It is a call to accuracy. Once you accept what cannot be changed, you become free to work on what can. This is an emotionally mature part of the book. It recognizes that better design begins with honest constraints. A good life is not made by pretending limitations do not exist. It is made by engaging creatively within reality. This shift from resistance to workable action is one of the most relieving ideas in the whole book. Another core lesson in designing your life is that self-knowledge should not rely only on introspection. Burnett and Evans encourage readers to study their own lived experience through a tool called the Good Time Journal. The idea is simple. Pay attention to moments when you feel energized, engaged, focused, interested, or alive. Also notice when you feel bored, depleted, disconnected, or drained. Over time, those observations begin to form patterns. You may notice that certain kinds of tasks create deep concentration. You may realize that some environments support your energy while others steadily flatten it. You may discover that you enjoy solving people problems more than technical ones, or vice versa. The value of this approach is that it grounds self-understanding in evidence. Many people try to figure out their future by thinking about identity in the abstract. The Good Time Journal asks them instead to observe what is actually happening in their days. This makes the search for direction less theatrical and more honest. It also shows that clarity is often gathered rather than granted. A meaningful life leaves clues, and those clues are usually found in moments of genuine engagement. The journal becomes a way of listening to experience with more precision. The book builds on the Good Time Journal through the idea of wayfinding. Wayfinding means navigating by paying attention to direction rather than demanding a complete map. Burnett and Evans suggest that many people delay action because they want certainty first. They want to know exactly where a path leads before taking even a small step. But life rarely works that way. Instead, it often offers signals: energy, curiosity, meaning, absorption. These do not tell you everything, but they tell you enough to move. Wayfinding is therefore about learning to notice what pulls you forward and what leaves you flat. It does not mean blindly following every impulse. It means treating engagement as information. If certain activities repeatedly create focus and interest, that matters. If other activities consistently deaden your attention, that also matters. The book's insight here is that a well-designed life is often discovered directionally. You do not need a perfect final plan. You need a sensitive way of navigating. Wayfinding encourages motion without pretending the future is fully knowable. It gives readers a way to trust process without demanding certainty. Burnett and Evans also ask readers to reflect on two ideas they call work view and life view. A work view is your evolving understanding of what work means and why it matters. Is work mainly about income, contribution, craft, community, identity, service, or growth? A life view is your broader understanding of what gives life meaning. This may include spirituality, relationships, ethics, curiosity, creativity, beauty, justice, or responsibility. The key insight is not that readers must create perfect philosophical statements. It is that many people suffer from mismatch without realizing it. They want work that reflects values they have never clearly named. Or they pursue goals that look successful from the outside, but do not connect to what they actually believe life is for. By writing and comparing work view and life view, readers can begin asking whether their choices feel coherent. This is not about turning life into a rigid doctrine. It is about seeing where alignment is strong and where tension exists. The exercise matters because meaning is often less about status than about fit. A person may tolerate difficulty and uncertainty more easily when their work resonates with their deeper sense of what matters. One of the most memorable exercises in designing your life is the Odyssey Plan. Instead of building one 5-year plan, Burnett and Evans ask readers to imagine 3. One might continue the current path. Another might involve a significant pivot. A third might explore what life would look like if concerns about approval, money, or conventional status were temporarily loosened. This exercise is brilliant because it weakens the illusion that there is only one valid future. Many people feel trapped because they have collapsed possibility into a single storyline. The Odyssey Plan reopens imagination. It shows that multiple good lives may be available, each with different costs, energies, and forms of meaning. It also produces emotional information. Sometimes a plan that seems sensible feels lifeless when written out. Another that appears unconventional begins to feel strangely alive. The point is not to predict the future with precision. The point is to expand perspective and create room for better decision-making. Once readers see more than one possible future, they often feel less desperate and more creative. That shift alone can transform how they approach change. A central design principle in the book is prototyping. Designers do not commit fully to an idea before testing it. They build small, low-cost versions to gather information. Burnett and Evans argue that life decisions should often be approached the same way. If you think you may want a different career, do not rely only on fantasy. Prototype it. Talk to people in that field. Shadow someone. Volunteer. Take a course. Start a side project. Spend time around the reality of the work. The reason this matters is that imagined lives are often inaccurate. A career may look exciting from a distance, but feel draining up close. Another may seem ordinary until direct experience reveals surprising depth. Prototyping turns vague desire into concrete learning. It lowers risk and increases clarity. This is one of the book's most empowering ideas because it gives readers a practical way to move forward without making reckless leaps. Instead of waiting until you are sure, you can create a small experiment that teaches you something real. That is design thinking applied to personal life at its best. The book places strong emphasis on conversation, especially life design interviews. Burnett and Evans encourage readers to speak with people whose paths interest them and to ask open, exploratory questions. What is your day actually like? What surprised you about this field? What skills matter most? What do people misunderstand about this work? These conversations are powerful because they replace projection with reality. Many career fantasies survive only because they have not yet met details. Once you hear how real people entered a field, struggled in it, evolved within it, and made it meaningful, your understanding becomes more nuanced. These conversations also reveal that most lives are not linear. People often arrive where they are through experiments, accidents, relationships, and revisions. That realization helps normalize uncertainty. It reminds readers that not knowing everything in advance is not a personal defect. It is part of how life actually unfolds. Designing your life does not promise to eliminate uncertainty. Instead, it teaches readers how to relate to uncertainty more skillfully. This is especially visible in the book's approach to decision-making. Burnett and Evans do not treat good decisions as those backed by perfect information. They treat them as choices made with attention, honesty, and a willingness to learn. A well-designed choice is not guaranteed to feel comfortable forever. It is simply one made with better awareness of values, patterns, options, and experiments. This is a mature and realistic vision. It frees people from the fantasy that the right choice will remove all ambiguity. Often it will not. What it can do is move them into a better conversation with life itself. Good design is not certainty. It is responsiveness. One of the most encouraging things about this book is the way it treats stuckness. Burnett and Evans do not frame being stuck as a sign of brokenness. They treat it as a design issue. Something is not working, so it needs to be observed, reframed, prototyped, or redesigned. That shift is compassionate because it replaces shame with method. A person who feels stuck often becomes self-critical. They assume everyone else knows what they are doing. They interpret confusion as weakness. Designing your life says something gentler and more useful. Many people are stuck because they are trying to think their way through problems that require trying, talking, testing, and revising. Once they begin doing those things, motion returns. And with motion, hope usually returns too. The power of designing your life is that its tools apply to more than dramatic career changes. They can be used in ordinary life. Someone can redesign how they spend weekends, how they think about purpose, how they balance money and meaning, how they relate to work, or how they notice what gives life energy. The book's principles can help a student unsure of direction, a mid-career professional feeling trapped, a retiree reconsidering identity, or anyone wanting to build a more coherent life. What makes the framework so useful is that it does not depend on one age or stage. It depends on the willingness to engage with life as a designer rather than as a passive recipient. That means observing, trying, noticing, and adjusting. It means building a life in layers rather than waiting for a perfect blueprint to arrive. The lasting message of designing your life is both simple and profound. You do not have to solve your life in one moment of certainty. You can design it. You can question the beliefs that keep you stuck. You can pay attention to what energizes you. You can imagine more than one future. You can test ideas before making huge commitments. You can talk to people, gather information, and let reality teach you. And most importantly, you can keep revising. A well-designed life is not perfect, static, or fully known in advance. It is responsive, intentional, and alive. Burnett and Evans offer something rare in self-development writing, a framework that is practical without being rigid, hopeful without being naive, and structured without pretending that life can be controlled completely. Their final insight is that meaning is not always found by waiting. More often, it is built by engaging. A good life is not simply out there. It is something you learn to shape.